Um, so yeah, hi everyone. The and thanks to Bebont, excuse me, historical there, Bebout for allowing us and inviting us. The mechanics here are could be interesting because I'm not controlling the slides, so uh, we'll have to see how it goes. So that's us down in the bottom left there, Emma and me. We started this group just about 3 years ago, so this is a bit of a celebration, really, in a sense. So let's see how it goes and see how far I can run over time. So next slide, Ro, please. Right, we'll have to zoom through these fairly swiftly, I think. Swiftly. Um, so some of you will know something about Swifts and some won't. So we'll go through them fairly quickly. So the basics on Swifts. Thank you. They are not related to swallows, house, or sand martins. They are more closely related, most in modern terms, to hummingbirds, even though they've ended up looking rather similar. So I think it's called convergent evolution. They come to the UK to breed for 4 months every year, so they pretty much left us for this season. There are apparently worldwide about 100 species of swifts. I looked that up a few minutes ago, but we are only lucky enough in the UK to get one species called Apus apus, which means no feet. Although with climate change, that may well change. Next slide, please. What some of the facts that we've learned over these past 3 years are just mind-blowing, really. They are, I think, pretty much the only species of bird that that only land when they breed. So they are continuously in flight for a huge percentage of their life, mating on the wing, sleeping on the wing, which is mind-boggling, collecting nest material on the wing, and much more. So they only come to the UK to breed. The rest of the time they're flying across Africa and around. So they're doing thousands and thousands of miles. And moreover, they don't breed until they're at least 3 years old. So I think the next bullet talks about numbers. The migration paths are absolutely amazing. So whether they're breeding or not, they come back to the UK every spring, summer. So they're doing about 10,000 miles a year, whether they need to or not. They're very social birds, so they come back to socialize with the old guys and learn, what's what. So by the time they've landed, next bullet, they've done a huge amount of flying, and that's just backwards and forwards to Africa. It doesn't include all the flying they do above Africa in those 9 months. So they're absolutely incredible animals. Next slide. The bad news is that they're in trouble. Their population has absolutely plummeted over the past 20 something years. First bullet. It's going to get boring saying that, isn't it? So yeah, the swifts specifically, the common swift, so-called, has declined by at least 50% in UK population over 20 years. Next. Primarily, and there's a lot of discussion about this, primarily because they now rely totally on human habitation. Back in the old days, in the prehistoric times, they used to nest in cavities in trees and so on, but they haven't done that for a long time. What that means is that because they're relying on cavities and fissures in houses and other buildings, humans, on the other hand, are much too tidy and are rather keen on refurbishments and that blocks the swifts from returning to their nest sites that they've decided on in previous years. The point being that they are totally site loyal and will come back after their journey to Africa every May to exactly the same spot to nest, very often with the same mate that they've had in previous years. And just occasionally you see videos on Facebook, etc., showing the swifts trying to get back into their old cavities and failing. And even if people have installed nest boxes nearby, they don't recognize that as an alternative nest site. The other cause, of course, is that, as we all know, those of us who drive cars, there are a reduced number of insects around in the skies, and that is thought to be another fairly major concern for swifts, and of course the likes of house martins and swallows, and probably others as well. So they're the causes. The solutions next are many and various, and it's all really up to humans, as usual, to make it right. So there are, as we were talking about in our breakout session just now, a whole range of artificial nest opportunities, both swift bricks, which is very topical at the moment, and of course man-made swift boxes. And one of the ideas that we came up in the breakout session was that we might publish a list of reputable nest box and brick suppliers, because there are, this being quite hot in the media at the moment, there are some rather unreliable or let's say undesirable designs on the market. From the insects, the food supply point of view, obviously the answer is not to use insecticides, and that's of course not just up to the public, but a rather wider range of the population, and to grow more flowering plants. More insects, more pollinators means more food for our wonderful birds. Next, please. So we're based in Wolverton, Emma and me. Where is that, in case you don't know, because you're from all over the place? We're right on the north edge of Milton Keynes in Buckinghamshire. As you can see from the photo there, it's a fairly old housing stock, a population of 16,000 or so apparently these days. It was a railway town, apparently the first railway town in England, established in the 1800s. So a lot of the housing stock is aging, and therefore it has become very popular for swifts and house martins to use as their nest sites. And what's the next bit? I can't remember. Oh yes, so it is an aging housing stock, and again we come back to this whole issue of people moving into lovely old Victorian houses and clearing up the soffits and the guttering and blocking up the holes that the swifts were previously using. But we can do something about it. So that's where we are, and that's why we kind of set ourselves up. Emma and I got talking about 3 years ago, not knowing very much about swifts, apart from the fact we loved hearing them screaming up and down the Wolverton streets. And we started off by setting up a Facebook page. Next, please. And this was it. Wow, that was good. So this is what it looks like. We started off on Facebook because I think that's, at least from my point of view, what I knew best in terms of social media. Emma's gone further and uses Twitter and or whatever it's now called, X, and the other one which I've forgotten. So really, it was a bit of an experiment. We set this group up, not having the faintest idea of who else would join it, if anyone. So it was a bit of a test, and we were really pleasantly surprised. We ended up, as time went by, this is, remember, just as COVID was creeping in on us. So that was wonderful, because it meant that Emma didn't have any work to go to because she was furloughed, and therefore we had lots of time to plough into our initial adventures. So we provided nest boxes to Wolverton residents that were interested, free of charge. Next. Um, and the way that we did that was to get a grant from our local council, Wolverton and Greenleys Town Council, who very generously provided £1,000 to us for those specific purposes. And then after that ran out, after that number of boxes ran out, we started doing some fundraising, and again, the support from the community was absolutely incredible. We also had some wonderful people locally who were making boxes for us. We provided the pattern, if you like, the design, which is really quite important, because if you get that wrong, the nesting won't be very successful. More importantly, and this is the critical bit really, we got local people to install the boxes for us. You know, it's not many people want to go 5 meters up a ladder up near the gutters and install boxes. So we were so lucky in that first year to have somebody locally who was an aerial and dish fitter, who actually fitted probably up to something like 100 boxes in the first, let's say, couple of years, free of charge. Absolutely amazing. On the other side of that, we started to identify and log natural, what I always call natural nest sites, because they're not natural, they just happen to be holes that they found to find suitable for nesting. Next. And we started, as well as logging on a very confidential spreadsheet that we keep with names and addresses and all that sort of stuff. We also started logging on the SwiftMapper, yes, SwiftMapper app, which is really very good, very easy to use. Thank you. It's very easy to use, and apparently is being increasingly used by planning authorities to make judgments about where development should and shouldn't happen. Let's hope that happens more. Next one, please. The graphic there is what SwiftMapper looks like if you ignore the scribbly asterisks and so on. SwiftMapper on your screen looks like that. You get green house things for when you've logged nest boxes, artificial ones, and the yellow ones are natural, again, so-called natural nest sites. And this is what Wolverton looks like, approximately. And you can see that we've been really rather successful. I'll come to the numbers in a minute. So on top of that, this I just took a screenshot and added where we've now got Swift callers, the devices that play Swift calls and attract them, and fool them into thinking that there are Swifts already in the area. So we've kind of strategically put those around Wolverton with permission of house owners, of course. And this is the latest plot. So if you've never seen nest boxes before, the top one there is a Swift nest box. They are probably the ones from John Stimpson, the guy who's built 30,000 boxes in his retirement years. And the bottom one is a House Martin nest cup. If you reveal what's on the top row, please. Thank you. So these are the numbers. We've got 600 group members now, over that by now. 130 external Swift boxes, the ones in the top photo, are now installed around Wolverton. They're the green dots you see on the map. We've identified something like 40 natural Swift nest sites. They're the yellow ones, and 16 Swift callers. And the next bit, and in terms of house martins, looking after them, we've provided 20 house martin cups, and they're in quite a condensed, quite a particular area of Wolverton as well as identifying, thanks to Emma, 44, I think it was, natural cups around one particular building. So we've got good population. We're building the population. Well, we're going to build the population, but they've got lots of homes to find. Next. Oh, that's it. Blimey, I've done well. Um, so, you know, over those 3 years, it really has been an amazing learning experience, not just from um, learning about the birds themselves, but really the second bit says it all. You know, the support from residents, as well as other local Swift groups and the experts that we've now got joining our group, and within other groups, other Swift groups within the country. We just get such fantastic advice, and knowledge. Um, we have been supporting other startup Swift groups locally. There's now 3 local to us who've been started up in the past, what should we say, month or so, and we're providing a, an experience support, I suppose I would say. We're not aiming to provide them with boxes. That's hopefully the next stage that they will get to. And we've done other things like provide supporting the Open University, which is in Milton Keynes. They built their own multiple nest boxes. I think it's 12 nest sites in custom design boxes that they made and installed with a cherry picker. And those kind of things that are going on as well. So that's how you find us on the join us line there. And any information that anybody wants, just email us on that address there. Well, we're just delighted to send any information and provide any support that that is needed. Thank you.